For nearly 2 centuries, water has been falling from this roofline onto the same spot day after day, year after year. And when you don't have gutters directing that water away from your foundation, you end up with exactly what I'm about to show you, layers of attempted fixes that ultimately made the problem worse. This concrete covering was added sometime in the mid-20th century, probably by someone who looked at the eroded, settled area at the base of the wall and thought, I'll just cover it up. But concrete doesn't breathe like the original stone does, and it actually traps moisture against the historic materials underneath. So today I'm removing it to see what 200 years of dripline damage actually looks like. You can see what was hidden underneath, the original granite flagstone, buried under decades of accumulated soil and vegetation. This flagstone was placed here originally as a splash apron, a traditional solution to protect the base of the wall from that very water I'm talking about. But over time, soil built up, the stone settled, and eventually someone just poured concrete over the whole problem instead of addressing the root cause. The real issue with unguttered drip lines is the biological assault on your masonry. This constant moisture creates the perfect environment for moss, lichen, and as you can see here, vigorous weed growth. These plants send roots into the mortar joints between stones. Lime mortar, which is what was used in 1830 when this house was built, is softer than the stone itself. It's designed to be the sacrificial element. But when plant roots work into these joints, combined with freeze-thaw cycles through the winter, you get accelerated deterioration. That splashback is doing several things simultaneously. First, it's keeping the lower courses of stone perpetually damp. Stone walls need to breathe and dry out between rain events, but a drip line prevents that. Second, it's carrying dissolved salts from the soil up into the stone through capillary action. When those salts crystallize as the stone dries, they expand and cause something called spalling, where the surface of the stone flakes off in layers. And third, all that moisture freezing and thawing through winter causes the most dramatic damage of all. Now, before I go any further with this excavation, I'm harvesting these dandelions for dinner. Waste not, want not, and there's something satisfying about turning a symptom of your drainage problem into dandelion fritters. These grew in the soil that accumulated here precisely because water kept depositing sediment at this spot for decades. But here's the interesting connection. Dandelions are actually an indicator plant for compacted, poorly drained soil. Their long taproots seek out moisture deep underground, so the fact that they're thriving here tells you that water has been pooling and penetrating at this foundation line for a very long time. Every time it rains, water cascades off the roof, hits the ground, splashes back up against the stone wall, and then slowly percolates down through these compact layers. This brings me to what's happening that you can't see, the subsurface damage. When water concentrates at a single point like this, it doesn't just affect the surface. It penetrates down along the foundation wall, seeking the path of least resistance. Over time, this can undermine the foundation itself, washing away the supporting soil that creates voids. And that settling you saw, where the flagstone had sunk and soil accumulated on top, that's evidence of exactly this kind of erosion happening below ground level. And here's what concerns me most about this wall, the mortar joints. When I look closely at the stonework above where this drip line hits, I can see the mortar or concrete is significantly more deteriorated than on other parts of the house. The constant wetting carries moisture up into the wall through capillary action, sometimes several feet above the ground. Lime mortar, when it stays reasonably dry, can last centuries, but when it's subjected to this perpetual wet-dry cycle, it gradually dissolves and washes away, leaving gaps between the stones. Sitting here, I can see exactly where decades of neglect led. Buried stonework, damaged masonry, biological growth working its way into the joints. but I can also see the path forward. This flagstone is solid. The wall itself is fundamentally sound. With proper repointing and ongoing attention to water management, this section of the house can stand for another 200 years. That's the thing about historic preservation. It's not about dramatic intervention or modern materials that promise to fix everything forever. It's about understanding how these buildings were meant to function, respecting the materials they were built with, and maintaining them throughout using compatible techniques. And sometimes it starts with something as simple as removing concrete, harvesting dandelions, and sitting down with a cup of tea to really look at what 2 centuries of water damage can teach you about caring for an old stone house.